Good morning, my people. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Cheers to you. Cheers to everybody on this Monday morning. March 10th, 8 a.m. on the dot. They started at 8, but it's 8:01 now. What's going on, everybody? Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you guys being a part of the Sliwa show. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Got a busy show today. Got a packed show today. Got a lot to talk about today. And then we got another Lakers game coming up here in early one tonight. Early start tonight, 4:30. Already got people sending me some quotes. I got a quote for everybody, but let me read a couple here from a few other people. In silence, a man can most protect his integrity. I like that. Let's get another one here. The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. I like that. Look at that. I might not even have to have any quotes anymore. I might just have other people providing me the quotes. One less thing I got to do. All right. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Let me get a quick quote in here for everybody, and then we'll get the show started. Something to keep in mind: there is a preview video that's already out. Sammy put this out, previewing the Lakers and the Nets. So if you guys want kind of in the weeds, you can get into that. So something to keep in mind from that perspective. All right, here's a quote. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. All right, hopefully these quotes are, hopefully you guys like some of these quotes. In the beginning, when I started doing them, I thought, we'll just do them kind of randomly, but I like doing them on a daily basis. Hopefully there's a little bit of any of the quotes. Some of them give some type of positivity or something to think about here as you kind of get your day started. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I got a few things. I'm going to give everyone just a quick rundown. We'll get started with the show. No guests today, so we're going to be chilling. We'll be hanging out, and I won't be in too much of a rush today. So we'll just kind of go with however long the flow of the show is properly going. That's how long we're going to go. We're going to recap the Lakers and the Celtics game. Not crazy, but just a little bit, because this is Monday morning and the game was on Saturday. I know I did a post-game show. I know yesterday I followed that up with a video as well. But we'll do a little bit of a recap, just talking some of the takeaways from the Lakers-Celtics game. If people still have some thoughts on that, we'll talk about it. Of course, LeBron's injury. The timing couldn't be any worse. But maybe the timing's okay. Maybe if you can get a healthy LeBron James back in a couple of weeks, maybe this isn't the worst thing in the world. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. Brooklyn tonight, this kind of becomes, if you go look at the Lakers schedule and you look at how tough the schedule is, this kind of becomes one of those games now where, you can't lose games like this anymore. However you want to slice and dice it, you can't lose games like this simply because of the kind of, you call it, predicament situation Lakers are in. The schedule is going to be tough. 6 of 8 games, one of the toughest schedules remaining in the NBA. So we'll talk a little bit about the Nets game. Rest of the West, I got a chance to watch most of the Thunder and the Nuggets game yesterday. Maybe I'm underestimating the Oklahoma City Thunder. They looked damn good. If I could be honest with everybody, they look damn good. So we'll look a little bit at the Western Conference. There is a path that the Lakers would potentially have to make in the playoffs that I think it's the path you most likely want to avoid. We'll do a little bit of that as well. Mark Cuban finally talks about the trade. I got a couple NBA things I'll get into as well, but Mark Cuban talks a little bit about the trade, the Luka Doncic trade. He joined WFAA, I'm assuming they're in Dallas, and he had kind of a one-on-one interview, and they hit on a bunch of different topics. So There are a couple of quotes there that I want to take and talk about, and then we'll do a weekend recap. We'll get the heck out of here. Weekend recap, a couple things on the NBA, a couple things on the NFL. DeVante Adams is a Los Angeles Ram. Kind of a lot of movement here in the NFL, felt like in the last day or so. So we'll hit on a couple things, nothing crazy, and then we'll call it a day. Take a look at some of the comments here. We'll get the show started. All right, let's see what we got here from our people. Next 9 games, Lakers go 4-5. Okay. Good morning from Brazil, Gustavo. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Good morning to you as well. Brian, good morning, sleep. Somebody else got a quote here. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. I like that. It's a solid one right there. Very, very good one. All right, let's get the show started. Somebody's asking, is Rui playing? Rui's not playing. By the way, Dorian Finney-Smith is not playing tonight as well, so that's not going to help. Dorian Finney-Smith out, LeBron out, Rui out. So just to name a few. I know they had a few guys questionable. I think Jackson Hayes was questionable, and also and Luka was questionable. So hopefully those guys go. All right, let's kind of get things started here. Talk to me about Saturday night. What'd you guys take away from Saturday night? Big game, Lakers, Celtics. Obviously, a lot of momentum for the Lakers coming into that game. A lot of hype coming into that game. When you guys walked away from the game on Saturday night, when you actually just kind of tried paying attention to the basketball portion of it, did you feel like Lakers are miles away from the Celtics? They're right there with the Celtics. If Celtics is the best brand of basketball that's out there because they're the defending champs, and until you beat them, that's a team to beat. Did you feel like, I'm curious for those that are in the chat right now, what'd you take away by the time you got to Saturday night or you got to Sunday morning? I'm going to keep the LeBron injury as kind of a separate conversation in its own. I will tell you, I thought the Lakers, they had one terrible quarter. But you can't do that in the NBA. I mean, and I'm not even taking anything away from the Celtics because I know the Boston Celtics are really good. I know the Boston Celtics, in my opinion, will be the favorites to win it again. I don't care what the Cavs have done, and not taking anything away from the Oklahoma City Thunder or any of these other teams in the NBA. Boston is a class of the NBA right now, period, point blank. I mentioned that. I think Saturday night, I mentioned that in the postgame show that clearly, in my opinion, I think they're taking part of the regular season as, all right, yeah, we'll when we need to turn it on, we'll turn it on. And they got that confidence, that cockiness, that arrogance that they could turn it on at any time. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. And if you look at some of their individual players, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they definitely have that mantra as well. And they earned it because they won an NBA championship. So you got to give them that. There's nothing you could really take away from that. That they won an NBA championship. And they had been knocking on the door for a while too. With that being said, really, the Lakers had one bad quarter. I hated the way the Lakers closed out the first half, the way they closed it out the second quarter. They were down 4, and it felt like they should have been up 4 or tied at the worst. And then the third quarter was just a complete collapse. But overall, kind of right there. Now, I know they'd gone down by 20 or whatever it was, but I'll keep pointing this out. Fourth quarter, 4 minutes left to go. It's a 4-point game. Listen, maybe Boston just took their foot off the gas. Maybe Boston just thought, hey, we're going to win this game either way. And they just decided that it wasn't going to be critical or that important to close out the game. They just knew they were going to win. However you want to describe it, I didn't think the Lakers were that far away from Boston. If they played a 7-game set starting tonight and the Lakers are completely healthy and Boston is completely healthy, Boston probably wins the series. But I didn't think it was a complete mismatch or anything along those lines. Lakers still missing 2 starters. Obviously, Rui was out. Jackson Hayes was out. Porzingis was out on the other side. But for how poorly the Lakers played in that third quarter, for at times where it felt like, okay, this game is close, and then before you know it, it's completely out of reach. for how kind of up and down all of that was. I thought when the dust settled, you can walk away in that game against the Celtics and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, Boston's better today, but that doesn't necessarily mean, and listen, there's probably a better chance that these two teams don't face each other the rest of the way, because the only way they face each other is if both teams make it to the NBA Finals. Obviously, there's a lot that will happen between now and then, so we'll see what eventually happens. But I didn't think it was this complete mismatch or anything like that. Third quarter killed the Lakers. I thought Luka was, in the first half, hated Luka's game. Fourth quarter, I love Luka's game. He became a lot more aggressive. A lot of the players for the Lakers, they were okay. I mean, it was nothing special, was nothing great performance, but I didn't walk away really feeling all that discouraged, other than the fact that, obviously LeBron was injured. I want to look at some of the comments here. Just kind of curious what some people thought of their takeaways from the game. Slee, I hate it. That's the team to beat. Celtics D was tough. Yet Celtics had times. I was listening to JJ postgame, and I was reading some of the comments postgame as well. And I felt like there were a lot of people that, were saying, they were talking about the third quarter. It was like, oh, well, Lakers just didn't shoot well, or this just didn't happen, that didn't happen. I didn't agree with that. I thought Boston was just unbelievable on the defensive side. They got 5-6 guys that can lock up anybody at any point. They really do. They really, really do have just some incredible defenders, some incredible individual players that can make it happen. Jaylen Brown, phenomenal defender. I thought he was pushing around and bullying around Luka, at least through those first 3 quarters. And that's what I meant by I wasn't a fan of Luka's game through those first 3 quarters. I just thought he let Jaylen Brown kind of dictate everything. And Luka wasn't sizing up Jaylen Brown and confidently enough saying, you want to play that aggressive on me? You're going to have 4 fouls by the time we get to halftime, and I'm going to be living at the free throw line. I just didn't feel like he took advantage of kind of that over-aggressiveness. But give Boston a lot of credit. Their defense is good. What I was going back to is that third quarter. Thought a lot of people were trying to make excuses for the Lakers. No, Boston was just phenomenal. During the broadcast, I heard them say something to the effect. They said something to the effect of that the first 10 shots the Lakers took in the third quarter, 8 of them were contested. It seemed like everything was contested. Let's take a look at a couple more this year. LA had a chance to beat Boston. BC says Cleveland beat LA both times easily. Guys, any games the Lakers played before Luka got there, I don't really know how much you could take from those games. I'm not telling you Cleveland's not really good, because they are. They're clearly a fantastic roster. They got 6-7 guys that they could go to easily on any given night. But do you really want to look back at a Cleveland game against the Lakers when the Lakers didn't have Luka yet? It would be the equivalent of looking at the Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets before they had Luka, and then all of a sudden they had Luka and Lakers won by 23 in Denver. So I don't think you want to pay too close attention to what the Lakers were doing before. Lakers disappeared in the third quarter. Celtics are elite, but Lakers can hang. Just need a healthy roster. Lakers are right there. Celtics were at home. Takeaway was no LBJ. We are screwed. Represented well. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of a feeling of how people looked at the game from Saturday. Celtics have a better team, but have a good coach. Missing 2 starters. Celtics were missing Kristaps Porzingis as well. Yeah, listen, Kristaps Porzingis, that's another key piece for them. So Lakers missing some guys, definitely missing some guys. Look, by the time you got to 6 minutes left in that third quarter, Lakers are missing 3 starters. Boston Stars outperformed LA Stars. What did I think 31 for Jaylen Brown, and I think Tatum dropped 40 or 41, something like that. All right. if we're all Laker fans, we should be praying it's Boston that comes out of the East and not Cleveland. Interesting. I still think in a 7-game set, I'm taking Boston in a 7-game set. Okay, so that gives everybody just kind of a little bit of an idea of, how people felt about the game and what they felt kind of coming into the game versus there was so much hype and excitement coming into this game as there should have been. But at the same time, I think that I don't know how much you were going to be able to take. I don't think it's a terrible thing that, Lakers lose that game and there's a little bit of reflection of like, okay, hey, yeah, Lakers had won 8 games in a row. They had won, I want to say 11 or 12 games in a row against teams over 500. But then there's also a quick second where you're like, okay, yeah, but there's levels to the game. In this winning streak that the Lakers were on, they didn't beat OKC, nor did they play them. They didn't play Cleveland and they didn't play Boston. Those are clearly the 3 best teams in the NBA. That's why I thought this game was going to be such a barometer game. So I thought it was a entertaining game, fun game, some very frustrating moments in the game, but overall, I thought Lakers hung against a team that's clearly better. Boston's better. But are we going to see Boston again to where we can see what's the lineup look like? Is Jackson Hayes there? Is Rui Hachimura there? Is guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Jared Vanderbilt, can they go back to coming off the bench? The chances of us kind of seeing our full lineup against their full lineup, we'll see what eventually happens. All right, a couple more comments here, and then I want to talk about LeBron's injury. I still need to see the starting 5 have a run of games to see what to expect of the offense. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. That's a good transition. Okay, so part of the game, obviously the big storyline that comes out of the game on Saturday night is LeBron gets injured. And when the actual game was going on, I could see LeBron pointing towards the bench and kind of gingerly walking towards the bench, or kind of even just stopped walking. And I'm like, all right, that's not good. And I don't think the broadcast caught what was happening with LeBron until a little bit later. But eventually when they saw, okay, LeBron, here's the issue. It's a groin strain, whatever the case is. Instantly in my head, it's like, all right, well, there goes all that momentum the Lakers were building. This is clearly, for however long that he's going to be out, it's going to hurt the Lakers in the standings. So a lot of that conversation about wanting the number 2 seed, how important the number 2 seed is going to be, all this stuff, I'm not saying it completely goes out of the way, but now you're starting to look at, can you be top 4 in the Western Conference? And we're also going to see here too. I mean, LeBron's going to miss at least a couple of weeks. I mean, I think that part is apparent. He's going to miss at least a couple of weeks. Let me give you guys just kind of the good and the bad with LeBron being out. And I'm not trying to make a case that there is a lot of good, but there is some good. And let me kind of make my case for it. First, let me just say this. There's the clear things of not having LeBron James in the lineup. That's going to be, look, he's basically 26-8-8 again this season. You lose that every single night. You lose the momentum that you were building and that chemistry that you were hoping to see with Luka and LeBron. Can they keep kind of continuing to try to see what's working, what's not working, the whole thing? Okay. I mentioned in the standings. Right now, if you go look at the standings, luckily for the Lakers, Denver's playing OKC. They played OKC yesterday. They play them again tonight. So watching the Oklahoma City Thunder play, there's a good chance Denver's going to take another step back. And if Lakers can beat Brooklyn, there's a chance Lakers can take a step forward, maybe even gain a game on the Denver Nuggets tonight. But I do think that the longer you don't have LeBron James, the chances of you holding on to that number 2 seed obviously probably is decreasing. Okay, with that in mind, all the things that not having LeBron in there will kill the momentum, kill some of the chemistry with Luka, will hurt them in the standings. You're asking now Luka to basically do everything, and we'll see. Maybe Luka's just as comfortable in that situation because he's pretty much played like that in his career. But clearly there's going to be areas that really hurt the Lakers not having Bron there. But can I say one of the positives here? If this can be timed right, here's the beauty of LeBron having the groin strain on March 8th. The good thing about having the groin strain on March 8th is you have, I think I was doing the math yesterday, about 5.5 weeks until the playoffs start. He didn't have the injury on April 10th or April 8th. And you're like, oh, that's it. He's going to miss the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Lakers are screwed. He's not going to go anywhere. The only real good thing that I could take in this process for LeBron is there's enough time left on the schedule for him to get back. There's enough time for him to hopefully feel like himself. There's enough time on the schedule for him to hopefully, I think I was saying yesterday, if he got 3 full weeks off, he still has 8 games left before the regular season ends. That's enough time. That's enough time for Bron to get back, catch his win, get used to, acclimated to just being back with the team and everything else. Obviously, Rui, some of these other guys will be back on the team as well. I don't think it's the end of the world if Bron can be back in a couple of weeks, because you're also going to get a LeBron James that just randomly gets a couple weeks off before the playoffs start and then plays 8 games, hopefully, isn't part of this kind of grueling stretch that the Lakers have. We'll see what the Lakers are able to do in the standings and the win-loss column and everything else. But would that be the worst thing in the world, that LeBron takes a chance to kind of recover, take care of his body, make sure he's good to go, and then there's a healthy, well-rested LeBron for a playoff run? That doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world. The question's just going to be, I mean, here's the risk with that. How long will he be out for? What if his injury takes a month? What if his injury takes longer? What if he's never fully healthy because of the groin strain? That's obviously part of the risk. And the other part of the risk is, what if the Lakers just collapse in the Western Conference and in the standings without LeBron in the lineup? So those are some of the things that we're going to have to watch for. We're going to have to be on the lookout for. I'll tell you one thing. It's going to start putting a lot on Luka's shoulders. And, you know, Saturday's game was weird because watching the game on Saturday, I couldn't tell if Jaylen Brown was just D'ing up Luka Doncic, and Luka just had, however you want to describe it, just couldn't get past Jaylen Brown. You guys remember there was an article Mark Spears had put out there. Let me actually have it here. There was a theory that Mark Spears had. He said, NBA insider Mark Spears said Jaylen Brown was the reason Nico Harrison believed Luka wasn't that guy. Here's his quote. That dude, Jaylen Brown, is the reason why Luka got traded. What he did to Luka in the finals was shut him down, guarding him full court, and making it unbearable offensively. This led Dallas to question Luka as the leader of the team and questioning his conditioning, Mark Spears said on the Cedric Maxwell podcast. So I guess, and the only reason why I'm pointing this out, because it's kind of taking me back to yesterday's game. There were moments in the game yesterday where I'm like, Jaylen Brown either owns Luka, has free reign of basically bodying him up and pushing him everywhere, or is Luka just not healthy? Because Luka kept grimacing, holding his lower back, whatever the case is, which is, I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is if LeBron is out an extended period of time, and now you do need the Lakers, or you do need Luka to kind of carry the Lakers, is he 100% healthy? So there's some positives, there's some negatives here. There's clearly some risk here when it comes to what the Lakers are doing, and there's clearly some risk here of not having LeBron in the lineup, and it's not like the Lakers have a choice or anything like that. It's just kind of their predicament and their situation. But it's a lot to kind of weigh there when you look at LeBron. There are some positives, there are some negatives, but at the same time, we're going to learn a lot over these next couple of weeks about the Lakers team, adversity, having another star player not in the lineup, what Luka's going to be able to do, how the role players are going to step up. We're going to clearly learn a lot here. All right, here's let's look at some of the comments here. No, Jaylen Brown locked up Luka just like just like in the finals. Keenan, let me find this one here. Keenan says, dude got 33. What do you mean Brown held Luka? Pay attention to the first three quarters. Pay attention to the first three quarters. Here's my frustration watching Luka in that game. If Jaylen Brown's going to overplay you, don't give Jaylen Brown that much respect. Baller. Finals MVP. I understand that. You're still Luka Doncic. You're still top 5 in the league when you're 100% healthy. So with that in mind, go at Jaylen Brown. Don't try to get too cute with Jaylen. Go at Jaylen Brown. I didn't feel like Luka did that. Now, in the fourth quarter, he did. And that's kind of what I'm referring to is there was a stretch in the game where kind of Jaylen Brown did his thing and kind of controlled, I thought, Luka. And then in the fourth quarter, Luka went off. Luka went off, and that's how the Lakers got back in the game. I mean, there were a few other players that were contributing, but primarily it was Luka that was doing his thing. So that was the one part I couldn't figure out. I'm like, is Luka healthy? Is he not healthy? All right, let's see some of the comments here. Yeah, really hurt the Lakers as far as is there some more news out here? I'm seeing something here. If you guys got anything, like if something comes out and I don't see it, as far as Braun or anything, let's see. Then just let me know and then I'll look at it. I saw somebody put on here Braun 4 weeks, but if that ain't official, that can't be official. Hopefully it's not official. So we'll wait on that. All right, let's take a look at a few more comments here. Now I want to talk a little bit about Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban gave his thoughts on the trade. Still tea, guys. Still tea, no coffee. Today's officially 1 week without coffee. 1 week. I've turned to just trying to convince myself that I don't need it. No, I don't need coffee. I don't need coffee. I don't know if my body is buying what I'm trying to sell. Sleep. Only good thing with LeBron out, Luka will get to take over the team and feel like it's his team. See what happens. See what happens. I'm curious. Don't get me wrong. I'm 100% curious how it's all going to work out, what it's all going to look like. But at the same time, we'll have to wait and see. I am curious. I said this on, I think I said this on Saturday night. There's a part of me, there were times when Braun wouldn't play a game when the Lakers still had AD, right? Still had Anthony Davis. And in games Braun didn't play, I was more curious of because I didn't really know what to expect. Hey, what's Reeves going to do? What are some of these other guys going to do? And then clearly, obviously, AD gets traded, and it's like, okay, well, now the curiosity is going to kind of shift here. LeBron's out. What's it going to look like without Luka? What's it going to look like without LeBron? And the ball is just primarily in Luka's hands. What's it going to look like? We'll find out tonight. Lakers got Brooklyn tonight, and we'll find out about it. Okay. I got a couple things here that I want to get into the Lakers-Nets matchup and how that all of a sudden becomes an important game. Before I do so, I want to give a shout-out to our main partner here, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Great person, somebody I've known for about 5 years or so. I hope you never need to call Brad Wallace. I hope you never need to use that URL that's right there, wallacewins.com/Sliwa to get a free consultation. I hope you never have to email me and say, hey, Al, can you do me a favor? I'm in a predicament. Can you please introduce me to Brad Wallace? And I can make that official introduction. I hope you never need any of that stuff. But life happens. And here's how he can potentially help you if you're in a situation or a scenario. If you or someone you know is in a serious injury, you should reach out to Brad Wallace. Let him walk you or your family through your legal options. I'm sure it's a very intimidating and daunting process, but you got to let an expert in the field help you. Of course, Brad Wallace and his team, they are absolute experts. He can help anyone in the state of California. So again, if you or someone you know has been seriously injured or is dealing with the loss of a loved one, you should find out what legal options you have. Like I mentioned, the best in the business, it's Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, somebody that I've known for a long time. You don't pay them a dime until they actually win for you. It's that simple. Built to win, prove a trial lawyers. And I could help, like I mentioned, make an introduction if needed. If you don't ever need them, great. If you're in a predicament or a family member is in a predicament, then Brad Wallace can help you. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. Just a great contact of mine, somebody that I've known since I was over at 710 ESPN, followed me in my journey to YouTube. So I'm very appreciative of him. And also want to make sure that obviously this is a platform for him that makes sense for his business as well. Again, if you eventually need him, we can help out with that. All right, let's keep things moving here. Lakers got the Nets coming up tonight. 4:30 tip-off, so early game for the Lakers. Let me get a couple of these supers in here real quick, and then we'll keep things rolling. By the way, over 31,000 subscribers, so thank you for subscribing. I was asking this last week or so. I'm like, guys, we're right there. Can we just get over 31,000? Everybody's like, sure. We got your back, Al. So I really appreciate everybody subscribing. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so. Okay, I got a couple supers here that I want to just point out real quick. Braden, Slee, does a LeBron injury open up minutes for Cam, or does JJ lean even more on Goodwin and Jemison? You know, Cam has been used so little. I know I want to say it was a daughter. He had the birth of his daughter, so he left for personal reasons. But he's been used so little. At this point, I'd be surprised if they're, depending on Cam Reddish. But you never know. There was a point where I didn't think Dalton Connector was going to be getting much PT, and now all of a sudden he's getting playing time. Who would have thought Goodwin and Trey Jemison III were going to get opportunities, and now they're getting opportunities, especially with Rui out as well. Maybe Cam does get it. But clearly they obviously haven't used him. They haven't used Alex Lynn. There've been a couple guys they're like, yeah, we're not going to be using. But does it change now? It changes. I'll take me some more Goodwin. I got no problem with that. I think a lot of Laker fans are completely okay with that. So, Braden, thank you for the super, brother. We got B on here. Congrats on 1 week. You got this. Talking about coffee. I'm just selling myself. Just telling myself, you don't even need it. What do you mean? Do you need coffee? No, you don't need coffee. I was living by coffee. We're figuring it out. It's all good. B, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the super. We'll get through it. You're right. Anthony, isn't the conversation about Luka getting in shape the exact same conversation we had about Shaq back in the day? In a weird way, you almost think Shaq was able to get a free pass because he was a big man who absolutely dominated the middle. And what would Shaq always say? Shaq would come into the season out of shape. And he would use the season to work his way into getting into shape. So by the time you got to the All-Star break or you got kind of closer to the playoffs, now Shaq kind of is in the best shape that he can be. The problem with Luka, in shape, not in shape, whatever the case is, the role he plays, the position that he has, bringing the ball up the floor, obviously you want to be in the best shape possible. I think for Luka, it feels like it had more to do with the injury than it did with his, being in shape, being out of shape. Listen, I've told you guys this before. I don't think you look at Luka and say, hey, that's a specimen right there, where clearly every inch of his body is watched and monitored. That's just not what Luka looks like. However, at the same time, last year he played the most minutes in the NBA. He's still dropping 30 and 8 and 8 on some of these guys. His numbers went up even in the playoffs. And I'm not even trying to make an excuse for him. What I'm trying to tell you is if he can't get into the best shape in his life as a Laker after what just happened, him getting traded, the way Dallas kind of dragged him through the mud, I don't know how he's going to do it. So hopefully Luka, as he gets older and wiser, is smarter about his body as well. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, Lakers Nets tonight. Luka's fine until he plays Boston, but that's a problem. right? You want to have, you don't want to be, if the best team in the NBA is the Boston Celtics and they're the defending NBA champions, um, hypothetically, if that's what it looks like, you can't be fine against every other team except the defending NBA champions when you play Boston. That's not okay. And that's a team thing. That's a Laker thing. Somebody had mentioned something to me. Somebody had said, I don't know if they were making the comparison to 2008. Remember when Lakers lost to the Celtics in 2008? And they just weren't better than Boston, period. And it's not like the Lakers, there's no guarantee Lakers are going to get to the NBA Finals. There's no guarantee Lakers are going to face the Celtics. None of that guarantee exists. But I think there's something about, okay, well, if that's the squad that you got to beat in order to be an NBA champion, don't you kind of just gear your entire life about, well, I'm going to make sure I'm good to go against that team? Because if I'm good to go against that team, then there's a good chance that I can win an NBA championship. But let me also kind of add this. It was the first time Luka got to the NBA Finals. Boston's been knocking on the door for years. It's not like Tatum and Jaylen Brown. What's kind of crazy about those two, they have so much playoff experience, and they're both well under the age of 30. That's how long they've been knocking on the door. Sometimes it's just Boston was better than Dallas. Like, I don't know what to tell you. They were just better than Dallas. All right, let's see what else we got here. That's what we have, LBJ, so we can play ball. You're right about that. And I think, like anybody else, I think like anybody else, Luka needs LeBron in order to get over that hurdle, that hump, or whatever the case is, because Bron hasn't had issues with Boston. Bron has handled business against Boston. Darren, AD was fine until he played Denver. But they did get a chip going through Denver. So don't forget that one as well. Okay, let's talk Lakers Brooklyn here real quick. I still got a few other things I want to get into here as the show kind of moves along here. Is it just me, or does it feel like they kind of got to beat Brooklyn tonight? You can't F around tonight against the Brooklyn Nets. You really can't. All these games are going to be so tough. The schedule, they kept mentioning it during the broadcast on Saturday. Lakers have a schedule that includes 6 games in 8 nights. Damn. That means you play 3 and 4 and then a day off and then 3 and 4. That's crazy. So 6 games in 8 nights is what the Lakers have in front of them. 2 against Milwaukee, 2 against Denver. You got obviously the game that you just played against the Boston Celtics. I mean, the schedule is brutal. And the schedule the rest of the way is not easy for the Lakers. Doesn't tonight just seem like you got to beat the Brooklyn Nets? You just have to beat the Brooklyn Nets. There is no negotiation in tonight's game. I mean, the only conversation we should be having around 7 o'clock tonight when I'm doing the post-game show is, all right, Lakers handled business. They won the game. We can all move on, and we could all start looking at this really tough back-to-back Lakers got coming up Thursday and Friday, which is the Bucks and the Denver Nuggets. Let me give you guys an idea of Brooklyn. All right. Since February 20th, here's the Brooklyn Nets. Lost to Cleveland, beat Philly by 2. Lost to Washington, lost to OKC, lost to Portland, lost to Detroit, lost to San Antonio, lost to Golden State, and lost to the Charlotte Hornets. You can't lose against the Brooklyn Nets. You just can't. That's a non-negotiable tonight for the Lakers' predicament, their situation. Brooklyn's lost 8 of their last 9 games. They really probably have no interest in winning. Where their interest is clearly trying to get as best draft position as they can. So you have no margin for error tonight. You got to walk away with a win, and that is it. There's nothing else to talk about other than beating the Brooklyn Nets and moving on. It will be the final game this year where we watch D'Angelo Russell get a chance to see Dulo. You know, it's funny. I look back, looking back at that. I was paying attention to it while I was prepping this morning. Looking back, the trade was December 29th. And I think Dorian Finney-Smith's first game was the first game in January was his first game. 30 games the Lakers played since Dorian Finney-Smith became a Los Angeles Laker, since they traded D'Angelo Russell. Lakers are 22-8 in that stretch. Now, I'm not crediting all that to Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm not. But I'll tell you one thing. I don't think too many Laker fans are looking back and questioning whether the Lakers should have made that trade, number one. And I don't even think Dorian Finney-Smith has been the Dorian Finney-Smith we were all expecting him to be. DFS has been okay. He's been phenomenal on the defensive side, but he struggled from the three-point line. I think I saw his stats as a Laker. Let me give you DFS's stats as a Laker. Dorian Finney-Smith as a Laker so far has played 27 games, 6.7 points, 3.6 rebounds. I know he's shooting under 40% from the three-point line, and when he came from Brooklyn, he was balling and I think shooting closer to about 44, 45% from the three-point line. So I don't even think you've seen the best version of Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm a big fan of his game because I just think he brings this toughness, the mentality that he brings. I love what he does on the defensive side. I love the way he communicates. I love the way you could see that just his communication with the rest of the team, they clearly respect him. I love him for all of those reasons, but it's not even like Dorian Finney-Smith. When he got traded to the Lakers, I remember watching DFS when he was in Dallas. The guy never felt like he missed. Obviously, he was really good for them in Brooklyn as well. Comes to the Lakers. I don't think you've got the best version of him. They're 22-8 since that trade. What I've noticed is, even with DFS not playing all that great, I don't see many comments of people saying, hey, Al, you know what? Maybe D'Lo should have been better off on this team. Maybe D'Angelo Russell maybe they shouldn't have traded him. I don't really get any of that. And that doesn't mean D'Lo's not putting up numbers in Brooklyn. I saw D'Lo's last game. Now, I think D'Lo was out for a little bit, but I was looking at Brooklyn's stats. And maybe this is what people will say is these are empty stats. D'Lo, last game against Charlotte, 28.7 assists and 6 rebounds. Those are phenomenal numbers in the NBA. 10 of 18 from the field. But you know what I don't hear people saying? The Lakers shouldn't have made that trade. Why would they make that trade? You got to have, it's so important. You know, they needed D'Angelo Russell. Do you guys hear that or feel that? Because I don't. I don't get that. And you guys know how much time I spend talking Lakers basketball or doing research or anything like that, or interacting with a lot of Laker fans. I don't get that at all. At all, I don't get that. Okay, so big game tonight. Got to make it happen. You know, Lakers really, really, just based on their schedule of where they're sitting right now, this is going to be very, very important for the Lakers to win this game. Last time to see D'Angelo Russell for the year. Dorian Finney-Smith goes back to Brooklyn where he was. So those are some of the storylines coming into tonight's game. Let's look at some of the comments here. Okay, I think there's going to be a lot of this, and I'm not targeting anything here. These are just what people are saying. DFS, D'Lo every day of the week, DFS. DFS just stands around. Maybe on offense, you're right. But I think that's kind of what they want him to do. Now, I'd like him to give Rui some credit here. Rui's good at kind of slashing. Rui's good at kind of staying baseline, finding pockets where he can get easy buckets. DFS is more primarily on the perimeter. You're right about that. Yes, DFS is a poor man's Vando on D and Rui on offense. He's a really good defender. I don't know about a poor man. D'Lo is a pure shooter, but he's inconsistent at times. People were definitely complaining about the trade in the beginning. I don't know about that. I mean, let me tell you, I wasn't. I was not at all. I was super excited to get a player like. I just thought it kind of changes the whole. It helps change the identity of the team. Because you got Dorian Finney-Smith, and then 3 weeks later, Jared Vanderbilt came back, and you got these two bullies that came in on the Lakers. It's like, where the hell these guys come from? It's almost like it was a a trade line acquisition when you got Vando, because Vando hadn't played all year. All right, let's see what else you got here. Brooklyn doesn't miss DFS either. Choice is not even close. D'Lo guarding AR. You might be right on that one. You guys underestimate how good Luka is. Lakers will keep winning. I tell you what, if they're able to be above 500 without LeBron, in a weird way, it would tell a lot about what the Lakers have been all season. It would tell a lot about it would really just kind of continue to tell the story of the Lakers' identity all season long. And their identity all season long is simple. Their identity has been, they just find ways to win no matter what. That's been the identity of the Lakers, period. They play defense. They play hard. Great effort. JJ's got these guys working tough. But when you lose LeBron, obviously, clearly, things completely change. Maybe we are underestimating how good Luka is, and we'll see what happens. The problem is they just got so many games, so many tough games. And on top of that, I think like we mentioned before, I'm not sure if Luka's 100%. Okay. Did you guys get a chance to see some of the quotes from Mark Cuban? Man, it's kind of crazy. I don't know if you guys find yourself doing this. Let me give a quick shout out here real quick. AR gifted 5 MVP memberships. I'm going to put a link here if you want to be a member. AR, first off, thank you very much for doing it. I greatly appreciate that. Very, very nice of you. A lot of people have done this where they're out gifting memberships to people. Clearly, there's many areas to grow this channel, but one of the best ways to grow it is this organic way where you can become a member. It's $3 a month. Yesterday, I put up some content. It went to members first, then eventually went out to public. I got a few other things this week that I want to do for members only. I want to get their opinion on the channel, so I'm going to be doing that. But it's a great way to support the channel. AR, thank you for gifting out the memberships, and I put the link in the chat here. No surprise here, no shock here. Eventually, Mark Cuban was going to talk about the trade. I don't know if you guys got to see some of the quotes here. Okay. But eventually he was going to give his opinion on what he thought of the trade. No, not a shocker here. We all know that Mark Cuban is no longer the majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks. And he was on WFAA in Dallas and having a sit-down conversation, and obviously the trade came up. Let me read you exactly his quotes that he had on WFAA. Okay. So here are the quotes that he had. Let's see what he said here. Find the exact quote here. I love some of the things he didn't want to talk about, yet he still found himself talking about. Here's the main quote that you could take away from the trade. He said, if the Mavs are going to trade Luka, that's one thing. Just get a better deal. I still firmly believe if we had gotten 4 unprotected number ones and Anthony Davis and Max Christie, this would be a different conversation. It's funny. I thought it was one of the more shocking things when Mark Cuban was selling the Dallas Mavericks, or was selling majority ownership, and he's got no say anymore. So it's not like he can do anything about it. It's not like, and he even mentioned it in some of his quotes. He's like, listen, I don't have a say in this. I don't run the team anymore. So it really doesn't matter. He actually has that quote. I'm not going to go there. When they said, would you have traded Luka Doncic? He said, I'm not going to go there. It doesn't even matter. I thought it was interesting where he said, okay, well, I'm not going to tell you whether I would have traded Luka or not, even though everybody knows he would have never traded Luka Doncic. But on top of that, it had almost nothing even to do with that. On top of him not wanting to trade Luka Doncic, there's also the other side of it, of him saying, well, if you're going to trade him, well, how the hell are you just getting Anthony Davis and Max Christie for him? How are you not getting 4 unprotected picks and this and that, and go from there? So in one way, he doesn't want to give his opinion on things, but he's giving his opinion clearly on, obviously the entire matter. You know what's crazy about this? And it's not like there's really a quote in here that's shocking, because I think for anybody, they know the way Mark Cuban handled his business, and the chances of Mark Cuban actually trading Luka Doncic, I don't think would have ever happened. I was listening to, I kind of find myself right now listening to a few different Mavs podcasts, or there's a sports radio station in Dallas as well. I'm just kind of curious, their opinion, their thoughts, this and that. That happened right after the trade happened. So YouTube is just kind of feeding me a little bit of this Dallas stuff. You know what's crazy? Do you know what's kind of taking off right now in Dallas? What's taking off right now in Dallas is a lot of people saying, and these are not just one or two people. There are people out there that cover the NBA that are saying that they think the Dallas Mavericks should actually trade Anthony Davis in the summer. So first, there's the conversation of shutting down Anthony Davis the rest of the season, which I got to be honest with you guys. If I'm Anthony Davis and I'm in a predicament, in a situation where nobody believes, that obviously his presence in Dallas, the injuries that they've had, the tie now to Anthony Davis is just that, oh yeah, that's why we traded Luka, was for this guy. If AD is healthy before the season ends, I do think he should play, and I do think they should fight to try to get into that playing tournament. That's just a personal opinion. If I'm someone in Dallas, if I'm Anthony Davis, I'm grabbing a mic in Dallas and saying, if I could go, I'm going to play. We'll see what eventually happens. But do you know a lot of the chatter and the conversation now in Dallas is they should trade AD in the summer? That's how colossal of a failure all of this is. He's played 31 minutes for the Dallas Mavericks, and there's already conversation about, hey, maybe they just trade him in the summer, recoup as much as they possibly can, and then just start that rebuilding process. And if Kyrie walks and he goes somewhere else, then Kyrie walks and he goes somewhere else. I mean, they're already talking about literally a complete rebuild in Dallas. Do I think that will happen? Probably not. I think they're so far in and they look so bad, they're not going to do anything other than try to save whatever they have. But that's literally part of the conversation that's going on right now in Dallas. So kind of crazy. But listening to Mark Cuban talk about the trade, he's saying, well, if you're going to trade Luka, you got to go get a better package than that. Clearly, a lot of people thought Dallas didn't get enough in the trade with the Lakers, or maybe you got to open it up to other teams. However you want to look at it, there's that piece of it. And then there's already conversation now that the Dallas Mavericks potentially should be looking at trading Anthony Davis 31 minutes into his career with the Dallas Mavericks. That is absolutely insane. All right, last thing here that I'm just going to throw in on the Dallas side of things. I don't know if you guys saw this. I'm going to play this real quick here. This is just kind of one other thing that kind of ties into what we're talking about here. Did you guys hear Jason Kidd at all? Let me play Jason Kidd for you. Jason Kidd yesterday. Did you guys realize that the Dallas Mavericks yesterday in a game only had 7 guys available? Listen to what Jason Kidd.
No, never seen this. Never been in a game that we could not take someone out to rest them because we had no one to put in. That's just, the end of the bench. Normally you can put someone in. If not enclosed, they were in the back getting stitches or could not move or walk. So it's tough. It's tough. It is what it is, though. I mean, we got to keep pushing forward. No.
I've never seen this. Can't take someone out to rest because we had no one to put in. Mavs only had 7 players available at one point of the game versus the Suns. I'm waiting for a positive story to come out of Dallas. This franchise can't catch a break. They literally cannot catch a break. That is insane. I've never heard of that as well, where you only have 7 guys available on your team. But every storyline with the Dallas Mavericks, I've said this to you guys before. we've talked about this in the past, right? We've talked about the whether it was the trade and then it was the injury to Anthony Davis, the injury to Kyrie, ticket prices going up. I mean, franchise can't catch a break. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. And then we'll start taking a look at the weekend recap, and any questions that you guys have, we'll answer it as well. You have to have 8 to forfeit, right? Okay, so I think they had 8, but then somebody got injured. So I think that was the storyline behind that. Clay made a choice. Yeah, Clay. Think about Klay Thompson here for a quick. That's a good point, actually, in that sense. Clay basically signed. I mean, the reason why I'm reading this, a lot of people are putting here Klay Thompson. Clay basically signed. He signed. Let me think about this here. He's kind of picking and choosing. Signed thinking he was going to play with Luka. Kind of was going to bring a championship mentality to a team that, I've obviously just was in the NBA Finals. So there was a lot of kind of storylines and reasons why Clay was signing in Dallas. And now this. I mean, if I'm Klay Thompson, am I not trying to leave there as well? By the way, if you're Dallas, why even do you want Clay? I mean, wouldn't you put him up in the market and say, is there a team out there that would want a Klay Thompson? Somebody's saying here, the Kyrie injury changed everything. Because you thought, at the absolute worst, you thought this. By the way, I don't even agree with Nico Harrison when he said that they made this trade for a 3 to 4 year window championship run. I think that's too long. I think it was a 2 to 3 year window championship run just because of the age of all these players. Might have just been 2 years. Well, you lost this year already because AD is injured. And the moment Kyrie went down, this was not just your, out 3 to 4 weeks. Kyrie's going to miss at least half of next season. We'll see what happens. But yes, the Kyrie injury was that one changed everything. It's got to be demoralizing for AD, and Clay would be kicking himself for choosing Dallas if they do that. Yeah, nothing he can do. I mean, at least he got paid. Cuban would have wanted LeBron and all our picks for the next 10 years for Luka. Or Cuban just wouldn't have traded Luka. Right? Just wouldn't have traded him. Let's see what else we got here. Slee, what if LeBron would have spent his entire career with Cleveland and then Cleveland drafted Bronny? That would have been a better story than being drafted to the Lakers. What do you think? I don't know. LeBron's story is pretty fascinating in itself. I mean, look at his time in Miami, how that kind of shook the NBA. And then he went back to Cleveland and won them an NBA championship. And then he went to the most storied franchise in NBA history in the Lakers and won a championship there too. He's kind of had a, pretty interesting path as well. Definitely carved his own path. You can't get what the Lakers didn't have. The reason we got Luka was because they wanted AD. The Mavs valued AD closer to an equal than the rest of the world. You know what they valued AD for? They thought AD was the missing piece to winning a championship, specifically against Boston. That's what they thought. But still a wild risk and trade that clearly within the course of 6 weeks is not working. They're saying the Mavs will probably lose over $1 billion over the next 5 years because of the trade. I don't know the finances of it. I'll just tell you this. If you and I were Mavs fans and were Mavs season ticket holders, I ain't renewing. I'm not. What are you talking about? Why would I come back? I'm a season ticket holder because there's a star on this team named Luka, and the team was good. So I think there's a lot of those as well. Cuban's opinion doesn't matter. He sold his share. He doesn't like the Lakers. I think it matters. I think his opinion definitely matters. He owned the Dallas Mavericks, drafted Luka Doncic, traded for him, won an NBA championship over his career, and sold the team to this ownership. I wonder if he feels any responsibility. That was another conversation they were having about, should he feel any responsibility, or should he have done a better job of, better due diligence in figuring out who he was selling to I mean, I guess it's not his responsibility. He sees $4 billion and they're $3.5 billion or whatever they sold for. And he's like, yeah, that works for me. I don't know how many people, when they're selling their home, really worry about who they're selling their home to. I think they're just like, did I get the price that I was looking for? Cool. And then they walk away. Now, if you had an indication that, I don't know, I'm just using as an example, the people coming into the home are going to completely jack up the neighborhood, maybe you think of that. Yeah, Greg, it's not his job to, it's really more the NBA that should be concerned about who's coming in to buy. It's not Mark Cuban's job. It's not. But I get people that are saying, like, Mark, did you have any idea that these guys were going to do what they were doing? Whatever the case is. Okay, let's take a look here. A couple more comments here, and I want to do the weekend recap. Stop worrying about Dallas. Lakers have their own problem. Does it make Laker fans feel better to look at their demise? John, it is the biggest NBA story, period. The biggest NBA story. It will probably be the biggest NBA story over the next 5, 7, 10 years. And every little nugget that comes out, when I'm hearing that the Mavs are potentially going to, or people are considering, hey, they should just trade Anthony Davis and blow this thing up in the summer, I'm not going to pretend like that doesn't exist. It is an interesting story, in my opinion. It's a very, very interesting story, a fascinating story, and it's not going to go anywhere for a while. Appreciate the super, brother. Okay, I'm going to come back to some of your comments here in just a second. I do want to recap the weekend here real quick. Kind of an interesting couple of days in the NBA. Did you guys get a chance to see Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander yesterday? The two best. First off, how do I even forget this? Nikola Jokic, I was watching part of the game on Friday night. They're playing the Phoenix Suns. The game's at Denver. Nikola Jokic, the first 30-20-20 game in NBA history. Nikola Jokic, the first 30-20-20 game in NBA history. Man, this dude is just incredible. Just incredible how unbelievable of a basketball player Nikola Jokic is. Easy to watch. Not really one of those guys where he's just easy to watch. He's easy to root for. Nikola Jokic is just incredible. First 30-20-20 game in NBA history. Yesterday on ESPN, they were playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they got OKC again tonight. So for the Lakers, it's actually kind of some good news that Denver's running into the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know how much you guys have watched the Thunder, and I've always said I will have less belief in them until they get to the NBA Finals or win it all. That just kind of comes with the territory. I think I'm moving away from that. I think OKC, they got so much depth. They got so much. What do you need? You want them to have a lineup with size? They'll throw size out there. You want them to have a lineup of just sheer athleticism? They'll give you athleticism. You want youth? You want a couple of veterans in the mix? You want the MVP of the league right now who dropped 40 yesterday in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Whatever you want, they kind of have it. It's crazy, too, with the Thunder. Every time I hear different teams that are – Philadelphia is a good example. Philly's got heads up with one of the 6 worst records in the NBA and then hope the lottery goes their way, because if they don't, do you know who gets their unprotected pick? The Oklahoma City Thunder. They're still stockpiling in picks. That's still happening as we sit here today. Yesterday, watching Denver and OKC, I think I had a second. Now, listen, Aaron Gordon wasn't playing in the game or left the game, I think it was. Yesterday, I had a second, and I'm like, all right, maybe I should just give the Oklahoma City Thunder the credit they deserve. They're 53-11. 53-11. Best defensive team in the NBA. Best defensive team in like every statistical category you can think of. Oklahoma City Thunder. How do you win championships? Defense. They obviously got a star player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The only question that I think I would have with them, do they got enough offense come playoffs? Do they have enough players that you can rely on? Is Jalen Williams somebody you could rely on in the postseason, or is he too young? Is Chet Holmgren somebody you could rely on in the postseason, or is he too young? That's the only question I think they have is, do they have enough offense? But my God, that team is stacked. And it's so quick where it's like it's a close game, and then next thing you look, you're down 10, 12, 14, and OKC ran away with the game. So I watched that game last night. Something to keep in mind there. They're going to play again tonight. So it's going to be the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. What time are they playing at? Take a quick look here. But that was part of the recap. They are playing on NBA TV at 5 o'clock. So Lakers are at 4:30. So something to keep in mind there. The one other thing I want to mention just over the weekend, a little bit of a recap. The LA Rams signed 6-time Pro Bowl wide receiver DeVante Adams to a 2-year deal. Adams arrives as the Rams prepare to move on from standout wide receiver Cooper Kupp. So DeVante Adams is going to be a part of the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know. Okay, is he washed? He's 32 years old. Really didn't have all that great of a season, but he was with the Jets. I have no idea what DeVante Adams is going to be able to do with the Rams, but I will tell you this. If the Rams thinks he's good enough, then you kind of step back. There are a few franchises in all of sports. When they make a move, one of two things happens. I'm sorry if you're a Raider fan here, but if the Raiders do something, you're like, yeah, that probably won't work. If the Rams do something, you're like, yeah, that probably will work. That's just certain franchises are given the benefit of the doubt. Other franchises, that benefit of the doubt is ripped away. And I think as we sit here, and this is in all of sports, if in the NBA right now, if the Celtics made a move or the Thunder made a move or even Denver, if you want to put in the cat, there's certain teams you're like, okay, if they made a move, then it probably is the right move. And there's other franchises, Charlotte, this, that, go down the list. You're like, yeah, if they did something, I don't know what the hell they're doing. There were some other NFL moves that went down over the weekend as well. Looks like Aaron Rodgers could potentially go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. What else did I see here? Oh, the Steelers in another DK Metcalf. The Seahawks traded DK Metcalf to the Steelers. So a few other moves went down in the NFL as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. We're going to call it a day. Appreciate you guys hanging out on this Monday, everybody. Don't forget, we got Lakers Brooklyn tonight as well. Shout out to our partner as well, of course. Weekend recap, weekend previews, all of them. They're all presented by the Wallace Firm. Need legal help for a serious injury? The Wallace Firm are proven trial lawyers. Go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa to learn more. Again, thank you to Wallace Firm for being a proud partner, and thank you to Brad Wallace and his team. All right, let's read some of the comments here, and we're going to call it a Monday. We're going to call it a Monday morning, and then we'll be back. All right, let's see what we got here. Ham didn't know how to use Westbrook. That just whole thing didn't work. I mean, that's it. I don't think there's one individual. I mean, I don't think this was one person's fault. It just didn't work. OKC is going to choke in the playoffs. Okay, let me tell you something. By the way, if they lost in the second round, would you be shocked? I would not. But let me tell you this. They've only had one playoff run. OKC does not have and should not have this persona of being, I don't know how you want me to explain it. They should not have, you should not think of the Oklahoma City Thunder as chokers. They've been in the playoffs. They've had this one run. They won a round, and then they lost to the Dallas Mavericks, who got to the NBA Finals. They love Westbrook in Denver. He's playing really well. I haven't really got a chance to see it, but I know listening to broadcasts when Denver is on, I feel like he's found a good home for himself. Thunder are a highly disrespected and unappreciated team. Their coach is coach of the year by a landslide. I don't even know his name, but he's great. Well, I'll tell you this. Mark Dogganaut, by the way. A little tough to pronounce, but I think that's how you pronounce it. They are underappreciated and they are disrespected. So all they have to do is get through the West and then everyone will respect them. But their record is unbelievable. OKC plays team defense. Joker MVP 30-20-20. Unfreaking believable. By the way, I don't think he's going to win it this year. I think Shea's going to win it. Ask Slee, if Luka doesn't win a championship in the next 5 years, did Dallas win the trade? You know, I've said this before. I thought the only way this can work for Dallas is if they won a championship, and I don't even know if that was going to be enough, and Luka can't get one in LA. That's the only way that you can really look at this, because even if you say Luka didn't win one in 5 years and Dallas didn't win one in 5 years, then Mavs would say, well, why the hell didn't we just keep Luka? Right? I mean, I've heard some people say even if they won a championship, they didn't want to just win a chip. They wanted to win a chip with Luka. They're getting greedy there. I like SGA. He's definitely a baller, but he is worse than James Harden with the foul baiting. Bro is getting a crazy whistle. Yeah, that's become a really big storyline here over the last couple of weeks. I think it was it Steve Kerr that mentioned it? I think Steve Kerr had said that I think it was Steve Kerr that mentioned he gets every whistle, and then now everybody's kind of just running with it. Hey, let me say this. And as much as I used to hate James Harden doing it, as much as I hate hunting fouls, that's a league problem. That's not a player problem. That's a referee problem, not a player problem. Because if the NBA just wants to end that, they could end that tomorrow, and they certainly haven't done it. So what are you going to do there? AR also enjoyed. There's a lot of guys that, listen, if they know they're going to get a whistle, then if they know they're going to get a whistle, then they're going to do it. All right. Anything else here? Don't hate the player, hate the game. I'm not telling you I even like the style of I'm not a fan of guys hunting fouls. But you know what I'd like to see? If a player hunts for a foul and they're not making a basketball play, either side out of bounds, there's no foul called, or call it the other way. And then you know what's going to happen? Very simple. They're going to stop calling, or the players are going to stop hunting for fouls. Simple as that. It's like in soccer when these guys just throw their, you want to stop the flopping in soccer and everything else, give somebody a yellow card if they're flopping. Look at me getting into the flopping conversation. Okay, my people, I think we're good. I think that's it for today. No, I think that's it for this morning. And then we'll come back later today. Lakers, Brooklyn Nets, tip-off's at 4:30. Like I said, preview video is up right now. So you can see that preview video if you guys want to see it. It's Lakers, Nets, and it's something that Sammy did a little bit earlier. I'm going to be back on after the game. So let's call it around 7 o'clock tonight. I'll be back on doing a little post-game show action. So thank you for everybody being a part of the show. If you're here hanging out and you've yet to subscribe, what the hell are you doing? Subscribe to the damn channel. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Back on in however many hours that is. What is that, 10 hours? 10 hours to get back on? Okay, let me just see a couple more of these. When are you giving that basketball behind you? When you're giving it away? Can't give that away. Not only is that a Kobe ball, but the number on that ball, I think I've told you guys this. Anytime you get something when they do the authenticity or whatever it is, there's a number to it. Do you know what the number is on that ball? Guess what the number is on that ball. I've told people this before. Guess what the number is on that ball. I'll let a couple people chime in on this one. Yeah, that one's definitely not going away. ever. It's a good guess. This is a wise guess. 24 is a good guess. 824 is a good guess. 8 or 24. 81. It's 81. Of all the numbers, 81. That's pretty impressive right there. That's pretty impressive right there. All right, my people. We got $1.15 out of the show today. Thank you to everybody being on the show. Appreciate you guys hanging out. I'll be back later tonight. Shout out to all the members. Thank you very much for being members. Members, I need your help. A little bit later today, I'm going to do a short for members. I got a couple. I need your suggestion on a couple of things. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to put out a short. I'd like your guys' opinion on it. Even if you're not a member, thank you for subscribing to the channel. We'll be back later tonight. Shout out to the Wallace firm for being a fantastic partner of the show as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tonight.